Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. This is the fourth meeting of this collaborative group. I'm going to briefly just share my screen for now, just so we can see the agenda. So you have all added your names and chapter you represent, so we don't have to do a formal roll call. On the agenda, I sent updated minutes just yesterday or today for you. Did anyone have any additional comments for the minutes from the past meeting? And just as a reminder, it is all available because it was recorded. It is available for you through SFPE Connect. Both presentations are nicely recorded. So any comments? Okay, hearing none. I assume that everything was correct. Now, couple news from the headquarters. I would like to welcome our newest chapter from the region, Asia region, which is Bangladesh. So welcome. And so happens that also we are going later on to hear their presentation. I just wanted to let you know that in progress, we have two more chapters from Asia region. One is Sri Lanka chapter and the student from chapter from Malaysia. They will most likely be admitted and approved by SFPE Board of Directors later in October when they have their meeting. Other news from headquarters, please watch for my email in about a month or so with a link to new ACE form, the Chapter Excellence Award form. It is going to be totally automated. It will be an online fillable form, not the Excel spreadsheet as in the past. So we are going all modern. I did send guidelines earlier last month. If anyone would like that to be resent, I'll be happy to. Just email me if you didn't receive the guidelines for 2024 ACE Award report. That's all from me. Chris, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. On behalf of SFPE, thanks for everybody for attending this meeting. If you haven't heard, I am currently the interim CEO at SFPE. So if you have any concerns with what's going on at SFPE, you can always contact me. Since I could remember, I've been at SFPE for 19 years now, and I know this group's been together for a lot of that time, and we've had a lot of fun together, and I really appreciate the hard work this group has done to support SFPE in your region. And I was very excited to hear that the Japan and the Japan chapter has an anniversary. So that's very exciting, and we'll help them celebrate that any way we can for sure. But congratulations in advance, 1 month in advance, 1 or 2 months in advance.
Yes, congratulations indeed. And we'll be sure to celebrate our chapters. So the next on the agenda, we have brief reports from all chapters that were able to join us today. And I see from the top on my screen, Joe Macau, would you like to give us a very, very brief update what has been going on in the chapter?
Oh, sure. Well, good morning, good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Vaughn in Macau. I'll make an introduction to the new Bangladesh chapter. As far as new items, so Macau went through a big regulatory change last year. They used to have, I think, 9 third parties, and then now they've only been able to relicense 3. So going through a big change, like legally, we're going to be setting up with Macau Institute of Engineers and 2 of the other third parties that are operating here, like a joint. I guess we're still trying to determine if it's going to be like a 1-day, whole day event, or it's going to be a series of like evening classes online. But we're going to be setting that up kind of joint with SFPE Macau and the other organizations here with the new licensed businesses. So that's the main update here.
Tobias, Australia chapter.
Hey, how we doing? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Good, good. I'm on a train, so a little bit louder. Yeah, the main update since last time was that we had a successful conference together with our, if you could call it, sister organization, Engineers Australia Society of Fire Safety Engineers, up in Brisbane, about holistic fire engineering, which was very well attended, and yeah, great collaboration. Seen some further actions from that later on to assist us all in doing more holistic fire engineering and design. Otherwise, yeah, not too much more to report on.
Okay, thank you. And Rachel, can you update us what's going on in China chapter?
Okay, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening. I'm Rachel In. I'm based in Shanghai. I'm supporting Fang Li for SFP China chapter. For China chapter, next month in October, there will be the China Fire Conference and Exhibition in Beijing, and China chapter will jointly organize a seminar with FM Global and China Academy of Building Research. We're expecting about 150 people to attend this seminar. The seminar will focus on new era, new challenge and new solution for fire protection. Yeah, this is what we're planning to do in China. Thank you.
Next on my screen, I see Japan chapter. Can we have a brief update from Japan, please?
Okay, I will. Can I share the screen?
Sure. I will stop sharing my screen so you can do it. Absolutely. Stop share. There you go.
Okay, can you see my paper? No? Can you see my presentation paper?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have 3 information to share today, and the first one is I already tell you some of the attendees, but the SFP Japan chapter will be celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. and memorial gathering will be held on December 40th. And the second one is about the IAFSS, and symposium of IAFSS will be held in Tsukuba, Japan from October 22nd to 27th. We hope we can see some of you at the symposium. And I think this illustration is very misleading because we can't see cherry blossoms in autumn in Japan. So it's misleading. Third one is the new law, so-called Act for the Promotion of the Use of Wood in Building, to contribute to the realization of decarbonized society. It's a very long title, but it has encouraged the use of wood as much as possible in both public and private buildings in Japan. Fire safety claims tend to be drowned out in the face of louder voices of decarbonization in Japan. Some of our members seriously worrying about this issue. And I'd like to know how about in other countries. So that's all. Sekizawa-san, can you add anything?
I have nothing more. That's enough.
Okay, thank you.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this, and congratulations on such a nice round anniversary. Great job. So thank you for this presentation. We have New Zealand chapter. Can we hear from New Zealand chapter?
Certainly. Hello to everyone. Martin Feeney, representing the New Zealand chapter. There's probably 2 or 3 things to report on for New Zealand. The most significant of those is some recent work that's happening in New Zealand to describe fire safety for mass timber buildings. Mass timber is experiencing a very strong push from central government and from architects. But unlike most building codes around the world, the New Zealand building code is purely performance-based. And for that reason, it doesn't prescribe any particular fire safety requirements when somebody is building with a combustible structure. And since most of the compliance documents are written around building with steel and concrete and masonry and non-combustible structures, then there needs to be some clarification around the differences in fire safety design when designing with mass timber. So at the moment, there is some work happening in the background to give some guidance on how to design for mass timber buildings in the New Zealand performance-based design environment. There's an interim guidance note which is about to be published in the next week or 3. And by the end of the year, it's expected that that guidance note will be expanded into a much more detailed commentary, which will provide designers with more technical background to some of the requirements in the guidance note. One of the other things that we're working on in New Zealand is a guidance note for fire safety design of hospital buildings. Again, the performance-based design requirements in New Zealand are not particularly detailed when it comes to some of the specific needs for designing for vulnerable occupants in hospitals. And so this guidance note is trying to fill in the technical gaps when designing for these sorts of complex buildings. The third thing to note is in about 3 or 4 weeks, we will be holding our National Fire Engineering Conference. So this is in partnership with the Fire Protection Association of New Zealand and the New Zealand branch of the Institute of Fire Engineers. The conference will be held in Auckland and will probably be attended by around about 300, 350 delegates. So it's the Central National Fire Engineering Conference for the country. That's all to report from New Zealand.
Thank you. Thank you. And Korea chapter, can we hear from Korea chapter now? Mr. Kim, I can't hear you. Okay.
Please send a message later.
Yep. Okay. That's fine. So I held the Bangladesh chapter for the last. So who is going to present on behalf of Bangladesh?
Hi, Iba. This is Hassan.
Hi.
I'm going to present. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you can share your screen.
Yeah.
And please go
Yeah.
ahead. And again, welcome to SFPE family.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, all. I will share my screen. At the starting, our president, Mr. George Feller, will start, and then would hand over to me, and I will carry over. Yeah. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Yeah. Thank you. So everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Should we go to...
Over
Okay,
to you, George.
do you want me to... I'll just start and just introduce the chapter quickly. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me all right, Eva?
Yes, we
okay.
can.
Yeah, so the Bangladesh chapter has been set up recently. And the reason why we've done it is that there's a lot of awareness building of fire safety issues needed in Bangladesh. And we could see that there were a number of people who are interested in the topic, but there's no forum where people get together to discuss fire safety issues. And so it's very fragmented. And so we thought we'd start this chapter. At the moment, it just consists of people from the group that I'm working with. It's called the RMG Sustainability Council, which is set up to look at safety in supply chains. In this case, it's the garment industry in Bangladesh. So we're hoping that this SFE chapter will become a focal point for discussion about fire safety topics in Bangladesh. So at the moment, I'm president. Nawaz, who's sitting here with me, you can see him in the screen, is the vice president, and Hassan is the secretary. I'm going to be leaving Bangladesh soon, so we'll go through a process of selecting a new president. At the moment, I think we have the three of us joined to begin with, and now from the same company that there are another 18 people that have joined. And next month, we're hoping to launch it in Bangladesh to attract people from other areas to bring them together and get a more widely representative group. So we have a presentation here. I'll just give the introduction to the presentation. And so I'm coming at it from the point of view of an outsider who came into Bangladesh with the garment industry, looking at the safety issues in the garment sector. Okay, if you can turn to the next slide. I'll let Okay, I won't discuss Bangladesh itself very much. I'll let Hassan or Nawaz fill you in later on that. But basically, it's geographically, it's east of India and on the Bay of Bengal. South Asian country marked with a lot of greenery and many waterways. And where there's not water, there are a lot of people. You can see that it's in an area of about 150 square kilometers. There's a population of close to 170 million. So it's a very densely populated country. And it's a young country. It got independence from East Pakistan in 1971. So it celebrated its 50th anniversary recently. I think if you look at the graph at the bottom, you can see that throughout the 1970s, even the 1980s, it was a very small economy. But through the 1990s to especially in the last decade, it's grown a lot. And it's grown at about an average of over 6% per year since about 2010 onwards. So it's a rapidly growing economy. And a lot of this, I think if you go to the next slide, Hassan.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll find it in the next slide. So a lot of this is driven by a massive increase in garment manufacturing. So in the 1950s, in the Western world, the cost of garment manufacturing started increasing. And so the General Agreement of Trades and Tariffs Agreement, they brought in a multi-fiber agreement in 1974, which put tariffs on garments basically coming from the East to try and protect the garment industry further in the West. And Bangladesh had just come out of the War of Independence, and they could see it was a struggling economy, and people wondered how that was going to fend for itself. And so the multi-fiber agreement wasn't applied to Bangladesh. So Bangladesh had duty-free access in the 1980s to Western markets. And that sort of gave it the impetus for the start of the development of the garment industry. That multi-fiber agreement was retracted or fell into disuse in the mid-90s. But by then, I think the garment industry had got an impetus and started growing very rapidly. And that was due to favorable government policies, plenty of cheap labor and skilled cheap labor, skilled in textile work. And to start off with, there was a lot of collaboration with Korean manufacturers. And so there was a rapid growth from the 1980s onward through the 1990s. We can go to the next slide, Hassan. And it's become key to the economy now in Bangladesh. And throughout this, from 2000 onwards, you can see that it constitutes more than 80% of export earnings are through the garment industry. You can see the graph on the right there. The green line shows the percentage that it contributes to export earnings. Most of those exports go to Europe, including UK, about 60% of that, and about 20% to the USA, and then others to other markets. So it's been a very fast growth, and there was a very lax regulatory environment. And I think that is one of the features of the growth of the garment industry, the lax regulatory enforcement, particularly in buildings, which is particularly relevant to fire safety. Other features of the garment industry is that it empowered women employment a lot, and it employs about 4 million workers directly at the moment. And about 60% of those are women. So it became a very powerful women empowerment industry. But it was subject to very poor building safety standards. And the decade ending by 2013, they registered 1,495 workers killed due to fire-related incidents in that decade. And so due to a number of incidents in 2013, with 2012, 2013, which Hassan will go into a bit more detail, there was an initiative launched by international garment industry to go and assess all the buildings for fire and for structures and electrical, but also for fire safety. And so a big assessment program started, and that's where I started getting involved in Bangladesh in 2013. And if you go to the next slide, Hassan. And what we found when we started looking at these factories is that there were a number of endemic fire safety issues. We didn't find too many problems with the code itself, although some of the things could have been expressed better in the code. But these pictures sort of represent the main issues that we came across just about in every building we went to look at. The first case, there was on escape routes. You could see there were vertical shutters and security gates. And the way the factories were run, there would normally be a security person sitting on each landing as they came into the escape stair. And so they claimed that it was safe enough because if that person was there, the gates would be open. But that person often wasn't there or went home and they carried on with production. And that was one of the first things that this initiative did, was to try and eliminate all of those security features on the security shutters and gates on escape routes. And then the other issue was the unprotected stairs. Most of these buildings had stairways in them, but typically they were all open to every floor and open between floors. So, what we came across then was the fire services who were regularly inspecting these buildings, and their regulations forced factories to keep 50% of the roof space open. And their philosophy was people would go to the roofs in the case of a fire, and they would rescue them from the roof. And so they were using the fire safety regulations were totally in contradiction to the building code, but that was being applied more stringently. So that was a big issue that we needed to deal with. And then storage, temporary storage in the spaces was a big fire load issue. No automatic alarm detection systems, and escape stairs coming out into all sorts of areas, often into production areas or storage areas. So these were the things that immediately needed to be resolved. And basically all the buildings were the same, and it didn't comply with the code. So there was a lack of understanding of the code, total lack of enforcement of the code, and then a fairly rigid enforcement of fire safety regulations, which contradicted the code. Let's move on to the next slide. I think the last slide that I was going to cover. Yeah, so this is what the enforcement process in Bangladesh. This is something I prepared. 3 years of my time in Bangladesh I spent with the ILO, a UN agency, and we started looking at trying to improve the enforcement process. And we could see that in the process, there were 3 different ministries involved. First, the Fire Safety Code was developed by the Ministry of Housing and Public Works. And then when it came to fire safety license to construct, there were 2 different entities. One was the planning department and one was the fire safety department. It wasn't clear who had, on paper, both of them had jurisdiction for approving for the license to construct from a fire safety point of view. They were using different codes, different regulations, and they didn't talk to each other, and they don't talk to each other. So that's something that still needs to be resolved. And then the license to occupy a building, again, you have that different ministries involved and not talking to each other and with different criteria. And for general developers, and I think that it's such a mess that they just try and bypass it, and they can easily bypass it. So that was what led to the situation in the garment industry, and you can see the same problems you can see around the city. All the built environment, you come across these same issues all the time. So that's what we're faced with here in Bangladesh. People are, the awareness of fire safety, what buildings need to have in the fire, as far as fire safety is concerned, is increasing a lot, but it needs a lot more awareness, a much wider spread awareness, and that's what we're hoping to do through the SFPE chapter in Bangladesh. So I think I'll end there and hand over to Hassan to present on more generally what the fire safety scenario is. Over to you, Hassan.
Thank you, George. Thank you for your introduction and the brief idea to the other chapter leaders. Hello, everybody. This is Hassan. I am basically a structural engineer and started my career in 2008. Afterwards, I started practicing in fire safety since 2013. Then when I started practicing here in Bangladesh, nobody was very much concerned on safety features, but to evolve from the existing condition was actually a time demand. When I started practicing, what I observed that only some features like standalone detectors, portable fire extinguishers, which were actually needed, the building owners actually felt that needed in that individual locations were used. So some fire extinguishers were used, but not well managed, and we have seen some irregularity of the fire drills. Afterwards, during 2012 and 2013, some major incident happened in Bangladesh, like at Tazreen Fashion. It was a factory, and there were a massive fire in 2012, November 2012, and around 117 people were killed during that time. And on the next year, in 2013 April, there were another structural collapse. The building was called as Rana Plaza, and everybody in the world knows about this structural collapse, and more than 1,100 people were killed. It was also a factory building. So actually, the RMG sector came into the scenario since 2012 and 13 after those major incidents happened. So the international brands and the big brands, immediately after those incidents, they started finding out ways that how to deal with those incidents, because the consequence that was going to happen was terrible. So as they knew that they wouldn't be able to source the products from here, where the labor cost is one of the cheapest in the world, and the international trade unions and the global unions started protesting the ignorance of workers' right. Then at the end of 2013, the North American brands formed the Alliance for Bangladesh Worker Safety, and the European brands, that means ready-made garment factory product brands, with the collaboration of Bangladesh government, formed the Bangladesh Accord Foundation. So this alliance and accord started at the end of 2013 in Bangladesh for enforcing and monitoring the safety cultures. This was actually the beginning in Bangladesh. Afterwards, in 2020, the RSC reformed, the Bangladesh Accord reformed into the RSC, that is RMG Sustainability Council, and the Alliance for Bangladesh Worker Safety since 2018 was reformed as Nirapon. So now in Bangladesh, at the other side of the Bangladesh government in association, working here like RSC and Nirapon are working as the monitoring agencies. The RSC and Nirapon actually covers more than 3 million worker safety with respect to the structural, electrical, fire, boiler safety point of views. The boiler safety program we have started in recent years, but the structural, fire, and electrical safety codes are being implemented since 2013. Since then, after initiating these programs, we didn't see any major or significant incidents in RMG history in Bangladesh, except there were some minor ones with 2 or 3 injuries or fatalities. And now in 2023, it's really good to see that other sector peoples like commercial, residential, these kind of building owners are also started practicing the safety cultures following the same initiatives as RSC and Nirapon. Also, the Bangladesh government is following those practices in Bangladesh, and the other stakeholders in Bangladesh, like the consultants, the factory representatives, they're also doing a very good job in helping people. Going to the next slide. This is a graph taken from the Bangladesh Fire Service and Civil Defense database. It is showing that the situation for other areas other than the RMG industries, that is ready-made garment industries, are a little bit of different. From the Bangladesh Fire Service and Civil Defense database, here are some records covering all type of incidents in Bangladesh, not only the RMG, all type of incidents. According to that, the number of incidents has increased by year, and in last 2022, the number of incidents was over 24,000, where the number of injuries were over 400, and the fatalities were 98. At the right diagram, you can see that. But in comparison to that, in RMG, there were no major accidental deaths, but the fatalities we observed were due to various reasons, like falling from heights, electrification, boiler explosion. Yes, there were some incidents due to fire propagation. Going to the next slide. In this slide, we're going to talk about some key challenges in the existing buildings in Bangladesh. We have a number of cases where buildings were designed for residential or commercial purpose, but afterwards started to use those as the industrial type of building. So those had limited scope of work to prove the building to be eligible for individual for industrial purpose, and the building approval authority has a big role to support the safety functions here. The people works here need to make aware of what to do and how to do that. So it is a big responsibility for the enforcement agencies to make the people skilled and organized. Production quality and quantity is always a big challenge, and to manage those without hampering the operation is the primary focus of the owners of the factories and the buildings. Changing the occupancies frequently is a problem here. So the safety features which were previously designed need to be changed or updated in frequent manner. So there is a lack of maintenance and monitoring of those safety cultures. The lack of escape facilities are there, like stairs, fire doors, egress corridors, safe discharges, safe assembly points, safe egress courts, etc. are yet to be achieved in some areas. Lack of proper maintenance of electrical and mechanical equipments causes the fire detection and suppression system in faulty functionality. As there are huge production in Bangladesh, the rate is very high. So the huge quantity of material storage and housekeeping techniques are really required to achieve. And the concern owners, in the concern owners level, the facility owners are basically focused on business and revenue. So sometimes safety items remains overlooked by the top leadership. This is a matter of mindset. We all know that among the people, that how to invest on safety measures for the sake of business growth and how to gain the return on investment. Going to the next slide. What actually we are practicing here. So we are practicing the active and passive fire protection both. Majorly, we emphasize on evacuation, that contains the aisles, the corridors, the fire escapes, the fire doors, the stair enclosure, and other opening protectives, the safe discharges, assembly points. Regular basis drill is a must here in a periodic interval. At the other end, the emergency lights in association with the exit and directional exit signs with proper illumination level, the evacuation map, the evacuation plan, these are also monitored. In the active fire protection system, the fire extinguisher, the automatic fire alarm and detection system, the standpipe, sprinkler, the fire brigade connections are monitored and the designs are reviewed. In the passive fire form, there are a list of passive fire protection features here. We all can see. So we are monitoring the structural steel protection. We are reviewing the designs currently, and which applies with the intims and paints, the cementitious sprays, that is spray applied products, various kind of encasement, that is brick, concrete, cement plasterboard, gypsum board materials, fire stop materials, expansion joint material, others foam type flexible materials. In recent years, we have started practicing and adopting the performance-based designs. We are now engaged with some international consultants who are doing good design reviews. We are in collaboration with them. The codes and the standards we are practicing in Bangladesh, we are following that the local codes, Bangladesh National Building Code, and we are also following the international codes, that is IBC, International Building Code, and majorly in fire safety, we follow the NFPA rules, different forms of NFPA codes. There are other organizational codes and standards such as RSC standard, RSC technical guidelines, which basically emphasize on the existing buildings according to the standing laws, but to make some allowance where the local code is not certain to define and not implicable, considering the big business industry's growing phase, but without compromising to minimum safety. Because all we know that for the existing buildings, some codes and laws may not be applicable. So there are some exceptional cases. So we are practicing other codes. Basically, what are the limitations we, in our experience in Bangladesh? That is, number one is the culture, that is safety culture in Bangladesh. We are now, these safety cultures are being developed now. We are trying to grow awareness of the mass people, like workers, staffs, engineering managers, or the industrial managers, etc. The existing building and the application of the code is really difficult in some of the cases, as I said before. So coordination between the enforcement agencies would really help to achieve the safety cultures. There is another big challenge from here, or you can say it a limitation, that there is no institutional education facility in Bangladesh. So people from different discipline, experts like electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, the civil engineers, so from different experts adopted the safety regulations to practice. Unavailability of the credible fire protection equipment and material is seen till now. So there is no accredited laboratory facility in Bangladesh. So the people doing business here are basically dependent on purchasing and importing from abroad. There are some local entrepreneurs who produces good and good fire protective products, but they need to send them to test from abroad. The government, one of the government university, that is Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technical, BUET, is trying to establish the ISO 17025 accredited laboratory in Bangladesh, but since for a long time, and we are in full support of them. It is our last slide that what is our goal with the SFPE platform. It is actually to enrich our knowledge and our share our experience with the SFPE leaders, the practitioners, the professional practitioners. We want to grow the awareness among all the people in Bangladesh. We can invite more people, more fire safety practitioners in Bangladesh to join the SFPE chapters. And through this chapter, we all can work together, and with the collaboration of the international leaderships. One of our strengths here in Bangladesh is we have thousands of case studies here from the industrial sector. Also, in some areas, we have experience in commercial and residential sectors. So we can spread our knowledge and experience to other industries beyond the RNG. And to cover up all the industries like hospitals, commercials, institutional, residential occupancies are we are basically focusing. So the engineering consultants, the suppliers, other stakeholders can do good work and to guide with other sector people. So this is basically our target. And from the SFPE platform, we can share our experiences as well. We can take the other chapter experiences and the knowledges, as we have some limitation of institutional courses. We are recently engaging with some universities like South African Stellenbosch universities to get some courses on fire engineering. So this is basically the Bangladesh chapter status right now. Thank you. If there are some questions from any end, you're free to ask.
Presentation, and I'll just reinforce any questions. Raise your hand, virtual or through Zoom.
I thought I'd thank as well, Mr. Tobias from Australia. Very interesting discussion, and I guess if you look at the numbers of fatalities and the impact we can do in some of the areas compared to in many where us are or maybe normally practicing, it's interesting to be able to help in any way we can. So this is a great introduction, and hopefully we can collaborate further, and feel free to reach out if we can assist in any way.
Thank you, Tobias. Thanks for the info. We will definitely collaborate to each other. Thank you.
Just add that you mentioned SFPE platform several times. So just so you are aware, and others as well, that SFPE offers a lot of virtual courses and webinars. And we do understand that, the time difference is an issue frequently, but from time to time, we do have webinars that are in your time zone with speakers from the area. But if you can't make it, most of the webinars are converted to on-demand webinars, so you can watch them at your leisure.
Yeah, thank
And
you, Eva.
if you are not sure how to access them, just let me know and I'll walk you through.
Yeah, thanks, Eva, for the suggestion. We are doing that already.
Perfect.
Time is not a big constraint for us because we are actively participating in the webinars. Even last night, a big portion of our team has joined a webinar on fire protection system. So that's not a big deal for us. Thanks.
That's great. That's good to hear. Mr. Sekizawa has a question. Go ahead. You are muted.
Could I have one question to Hassan?
Yeah.
Tokyo's University of Science has some relation with the Bangladesh National Fire Service. Every year, 1 or 2 staff is coming to study in our course. So we know several people in the Bangladesh Fire Service. So my question is there any staff from the government fire service in Bangladesh SFPE chapter?
No, not yet.
Why don't you take take contact with them, because they are one of the leaders of fire safety in Bangladesh.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion, Mr. Sekizawa. We just formed the Bangladesh chapter 2 or 3 months ago. So we are actually planning to invite people practicing the fire safety from all corners of Bangladesh. We have already seen some names, some familiar names, and people have joined the SFPE, but we are yet to invite them to join the Bangladesh chapter, and the fire service and civil defense people. Definitely, we are in contact with them, in collaboration with them, but we actually need to let them know that the SFPE Bangladesh chapter has just formed and they can join us. They can include Bangladesh Fire Service and Civil Defense is a very good or very big organization. In recent years, 5 to 7 years, they have developed their equipments and the fighting techniques, the rules, which is really required to be updated more and more. We are always in connection with them. We are continuously feeding them for the updatation, for our observations. So we are in contact with them.
If you give me your contact address, email address, for example, I'll let you know some good people from our graduates.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the suggestion. I will definitely make contact with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mr. Chris.
Hey, Hassan and George. Hey, thanks for a great presentation. I really enjoyed it a lot, and definitely welcome to SFPE. The question I have is, you mentioned, you've been talking with Stellenbosch University. Is there any specific universities out there in Bangladesh that are interested in fire protection engineering or fire safety engineering to have a degree there?
Yeah, individuals and professionals from different industries like BUET, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, and 2 or 3 other universities, like some individuals from North-South University. So these universities are interested. I mean, specific some departments and individuals. But as a whole, there is no establishment for the fire safety in Bangladesh, like no institutional courses. That's why we recently set up some contacts and communications with the Stellenbosch, and we are going to have some courses, short courses from there.
Chris, just to add to that, what Hassan mentioned, Buert, in 2016, 2017, they sent, I think through ILO funding, they sent 6 professors to Maryland to do a course on fire safety. I think it was a 6-week course. And so it was one person from the architectural faculty, mechanical, electrical, structural, from each of the engineering faculties. And they put together a diploma course, which they started offering. And that was 2017. And they wanted to develop that course into a master's course to be recognized by the university. But then the rector changed, and or the chancellor changed, and the funding was dried up, and they haven't been able to maintain that. But the person who led that is one of the people we'll invite to put his name forward as president of the SFPE Bangladesh chapter. And we know he's interested in trying to get that running, but he's battling with the university authorities. And then there are 2 other universities where the individuals who are interested in offering fire engineering and looking for a way to do it. So there is interest in universities, but yeah, commercially there's no great demand for it until the enforcement process is a bit more stringent. You don't get the commercial demand for that. So the universities are struggling with that. Anything you want to add, Moses? No?
Yeah.
It was a great presentation actually from us, and we actually intended to give you the detail what is happening here in Bangladesh, and as we are greatly involved in fire safety work here in Bangladesh, so going forward we'll collaborate more to get the intakes, what's happening to the other side of the world, and see how we are moving forward. Yeah, at a whole. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
That was a great presentation, very interesting. We all learned a lot about Bangladesh, and so thank you for preparing your presentation. If there are no other questions, I just want to let you know everything is being recorded, and as with the previous presentation, I will make it available for everyone to watch on demand through Asia Oceania Forum, which is available on SFPE platform. And I will be sending out another doodle poll in a couple of weeks to organize our 5th meeting in about 6 months, which will put us around February, I believe. Yes, February. So maybe, do you have any questions to me as chapter leaders? Any questions to me? Or and maybe, Mr. Kim, are you able to give us a brief update from Korea chapter, or you still have technical difficulties? No, we can't hear you. Oh. Okay.
I do have a question for Mr. Kim. Maybe he could email us back, or anybody else in the room. I heard that the AOFST, I think that's what it's called, conference is going to be held in Korea next year. Is that true? Did anybody hear that yet?
You muted now.
No? Nobody's? Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for participation, and you are going to hear from me shortly.
Hey, Eva, before we hang up, I'd just like to let everybody know about
Yes.
our annual conference. It's going to be in the Washington, D.C. area. I know that's a long way for everybody to come, but we have, I think we're going to hit about 500 participants. And then also we have a symposium in Slovenia at the end of November on sustainability, which I know that's a topic Jonathan loves to talk about. And then finally, there is a call for abstracts for the performance-based design conference, which will be next year in Copenhagen. So if you're interested in submitting an abstract or submitting case studies or anything like that, you could go to our website, www.sfp.org to get that information on how to submit for an abstract. I know there's a few people right here that I'm looking at that are on the program committee. Fuki-san, Martin Feeney, Joe Vaughn. I've been working hard to pull that all together. So we hope to see a good support for that conference too. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Where, just
Eva,
email me. Go ahead.
Yeah. Eva, before we go, I have an announcement that we are going to have our first webinar on the next 24th September. So everybody will be welcome to join there from all the chapter leaders. And Eva, we are going to get some assistance from you to launch that webinar. We will be in contact with you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So again, thank you everyone. And I will let you know when this presentation is ready to be viewed on demand. Okay, take care,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Good to meet
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Congrats
See you
to
all.
Chris.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you, Chris, soon.
Yeah.